Hello there, good morning. You're welcome to Newsroom on GHOne TV. I am Serwaa Amihere. Let's begin with our top stories. Coming up in the next hour, Director General of the National Road Safety Authority reiterates 25 years age limit for commercial Okada riding. Despite fierce resistance from riders, we'll hear from Abraham Amaleba, who is confident of a reduction in road carnages under his tenure. Also coming up, we will tell you how tense the Ghanaian political scene has been this week, with a battle of words, proof and power play between government and parliament. Confusion rocks MMDA's confirmation across some municipalities as aggrieved NDC supporters reject the president's nominees. We will engage a local governance expert. Also, prepare to pay more for electricity and water as PURC meets to decide tariff adjustments. That's coming up in business. We have details of these and many more coming up shortly. Do stay. You're welcome once again to Newsroom on GHOne TV. I am Serwaa Amihere. It's been a tense week in Ghanaian politics. As in South MP, Reverend GHOne Fojo stirred the pot with some bold allegations and nearly got picked up by the national security for them. It's a battle of words, proof and power between Parliament and the executive. GHOne News' Elikplim Awuku has more in this report.
We will not be intimidated.
You might have had a rough week, but perhaps not as rough as Asin South MP and ranking member of Parliament's Interior and Defence Committee, Reverend GHOne Fojo, who was nearly hauled off by National Intelligence Bureau operatives over certain explosive allegations he made.
Even more intriguing is the cargo suspiciously transported by these aircrafts to and from Gran Canaria, an island known for its notoriety in drug trafficking, money laundering, among others. We call on national security to make full disclosure of the content of the cargo carried by these two aircraft into the country, as well as the cargo carried out of the country by the same aircrafts to Gran Canaria.
To which government responded.
The aircraft was once again inspected by officials of aviation security, officials of national security, officials of the National Intelligence Bureau, and NACOC, who made sure that it did not contain any unlawful substances, as alleged by Reverend Fojo.
But the ranking member was unimpressed, taking to social media to respond. However, the government wasn't ready to let things slide. What followed was a dramatic standoff between members of the opposition New Patriotic Party and National Intelligence operatives right at the NP's residence.
I'm elected to address it, or he's elected to address it. And you send about 20 gun-wielding, AK-47 wielding NIB officers to his house for what?
Has he committed any crime?
No.
By this time, we're expecting even the government to commend him.
You don't take your time to investigate, but rather go after the person. What does it make you?
So, does the popular legal adage, he who alleges must prove, apply here? Not according to NPP Director of Communications, Richard Ahiagba.
The question you are asking me is an unfair question. Are you expecting that in Team Fojo to fetch a sample of the cocaine and show anybody? The evidence you are looking for is the inconsistency and the lack of purpose of that flight here in our country.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now yours.
Beautiful story there by Elikplim Awuku. Away from that, the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, Abraham Amaleba, is blaming the increased spate of accidents caused by commercial motor riders known as Okada to the non-legalization of the operations. It follows actions by government to start legalization process of Okada riders in fulfillment of a campaign promise. In an interview with me earlier on GH Today, Mr. Maliba called on the police to ensure adherence to road traffic regulations on our roads. He added that persons below 25 years can only ride motorbikes for private purposes as per the Road Traffic Act.
The recent spate of accidents is becoming a national security issue. So I invited them to Irata Hotel and told them that we are not leaving this place until we find solutions to the numerous accidents. One of the solutions is to put in what is called speed governance for intercity transport. The spate of accidents related to Okada is because it is not legalized. Now, because it is an illegal activity, institutions such as ours, National Road Safety Authority, DVLA, and other state institutions cannot deal with them. So I cannot even meet Okada riders and say, I want to provide road safety education for them. I cannot meet them and say, I want to provide road sensitization for them, because I will be dealing with an illegality. But when they are legal, now my institution can meet them and tell them, this is the way we ride. And you see, when you look at the laws tell you that what we are doing is supposed to protect and ensure that the Okada rider is safe. One, they will be given protective gear to wear. So, for instance, there will be reflectors. That's one. The helmet they are wearing will prescribe a certain quality helmet for them. When you look at some of them, they wear baseball caps as helmets. Some of them even wear calabashes and paint the calabash as helmet. So we'll give them protective gear. Then we say they should be in a union because we don't want to be dealing with individual riders. So the union would take care of them. The union too would provide them with road safety education, driver education, sensitization. That union is to self-regulate. So the union themselves will say that, look, when you are riding, make sure that you put on your helmet. We have what is called the Road Traffic Act. And the Road Traffic Act says that if you are 18 years, you can acquire a license to drive or ride. But if you want to drive or ride for commercial purposes, you must be 25. I'll repeat it. If you are 18, you can acquire a license to drive your father's car. You can drive private if you are 18. But now if you want to graduate into driving for commercial purposes, you must be 25. That's what the law says.
Let's take you up north. The overlord of the Boko Kingdom, Zugran Bokunaba Sigri Abugrago Azuka II, has made another appeal to security officers stationed in the Boko area to immediately arrest and remove one Seidu Abagre from the town. According to the spokesperson for the Bokunaba, David Adoleba, that move will be the sure way to help end the decades-old conflict. Speaking to GHOne News on the back of recent disturbances that claimed a life and left several officers injured, Mr. Adoleba laid the blame of the recent tensions in Boko at the doorstep of the rival chief.
Likely to meet his overlord, the Zuguran Bokunaba, tomorrow in the morning. And that is a step in the right direction, because as a leader, if issues of this occur and you come yourself, you are able to get to the root of the matter, and together we, carve a path so that that trust building will be there between civilians and the police. On that note, we'll all be working towards getting lasting peace for the area. Yesterday, somebody appeared from nowhere calling himself a Bokunaba, and that is leading to tension and the killing of a lot of people and the destruction of property. Yet, government institutions or structures are quiet about it. All they know is to bring in more security or to impose curfew or to ban motor riding and a lot. And you and I believe in the fact that if you keep doing the same thing all the time, you will not get different results. We are doing the same thing. The curfews have been imposed. There has been ban on motor riding. There have been killing of civilians by security personnel, serious brutalities. Nobody has been arrested and taken to court during curfew hours. If they arrest, they beat the person, injure the person to go to the hospital, yet nothing is changing. It is only one man, and that is Serwaa Bagre. And so we expected the state to have acted by taking Serwaa Bagre out of Boko to ensure that we protect life and property.
Meanwhile, Boko Central MP and Majority Leader Amihere says the long-standing chieftaincy dispute should be left to Otumfuo Seitu II to resolve. He urged civilians to exercise restraint while the Asante king leads the peace process. Here are excerpts of the statement. The MP wrote that my personal position on the matter has been known to all over the years and has never changed. It won't change. And I agree with the youth of Kusang that another person cannot reside in Boko claiming to be chief. But in reverence to the great Asante stool, I leave that matter to Otumfuo Seitu II to resolve expeditiously. The law enforcement officers must be cautious. The matter was referred by then President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to His Majesty Otumfuo Seitu II to handle. Upon coming into office on January 7, 2025, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama requested His Majesty Otumfuo Seitu to continue with the process. I support President John Dramani Mahama's decision for very good reasons. I therefore once again appeal to everyone to exercise restraint and allow the peace process led by Otumfuo to continue to its logical conclusion. I also appeal to everyone to maintain cordial relations with the law enforcement agencies to protect lives in the interim. Well, the IGP, Christian Tete Yohuno, is in Boko with a high-powered delegation of operations, intelligence, and investigative officers. He's expected to meet with the Boko Naba this morning. He will also visit, his visit to the area follows violent clashes on Wednesday, April 9, between some irate youth and the police. There's more in this report.
The move by the Inspector General of Police follows violent clashes on Wednesday, April 9, between some irate youth and the police, which tragically resulted in the death of one individual identified as Fusaini Idrisu. 5 others, including a police officer and an immigration officer, sustained gunshot wounds and are currently receiving treatment at medical facilities. The Ghana Police Service, in collaboration with the Ghana Armed Forces, swiftly moved to restore calm to Boko and its environs. Despite the heavy security presence, the violence led to the destruction of key police properties, including 2 service vehicles, a rented police accommodation in Binduri, and homes belonging to police officers stationed in the area. In response, joint police and military patrols have been intensified across Boko and surrounding communities to stabilize the situation and prevent further unrest. While in Boko, IGP GHOne and his team are expected to commensurate with the family of the deceased, visit injured personnel and civilians currently on admission, and interact with officers who lost their homes and property during the clashes. The Ghana Police Service has reiterated its commitment to working closely with the Ghana Armed Forces, traditional leaders, opinion leaders, and all relevant stakeholders to restore peace and maintain law and order in Boko. The service also calls on residents to remain calm and support ongoing efforts aimed at ensuring long-term stability in the area.
Let's have a conversation on this. Joining us via Zoom, let's talk to Albert Yell-Yang in what seems to be like an unending conflict in Boko. Albert Yell-Yang is the National Network Coordinator for the West African Network for Peace Building Ghana. Mr. Yell-Yang, thank you so much for joining us. We spoke with the spokesperson for the Boko Naba, and he said that imposing a curfew and all of that is not solving the problem. What do you think we need at this point?
I think that at this point, once we have actions and reactions from multiple groups, the youth, and then also the security, we need to have the curfew sustained so that at least it can help to bring law and order. If you have observed how the incidences occurred, it did not happen once. You know, these are things that happen sporadically. And what that means is that if we are not careful and put in place mechanisms to curtail the occurrences, then it may degenerate into a situation that can then be very difficult to handle. I think that multiple approaches should be adopted. And I'm happy that the state led by the IGP, and there are well-meaning, citizens, especially those including the area. And I read the statement from the MP of Boko Central, talking about the need for people to be calm, and that we also need the further engagement. I think that these are very important calls, and I would think that not just the MP of Boko, but other well-meaning citizens of the area from the factions should be talking and calling on their following or kinsmen and women and other people who are aligned to the conflict or may be taking advantage of the conflict, to prevail upon them so that we can have some restoration of order. Otherwise, it can be very difficult. Don't forget that this is not just the first time. We have had recurrences of the incidences, amongst the populations and also between the populations and the infractions that occurred, between the populations and the security agencies. It is important that we recognize that. Otherwise, so many things have been pent-up feelings over the years. And these are times that when we are not careful and put in place stringent mechanisms to curtail them, then they may serve as opportunities for people to then vent their grievances that they have bottled over the years, and that can be very difficult for us to handle. I think that is very important. We also need the engagement, with the factions, their leadership, and those that can listen to us, so that we can all support to bring the situation under control.
Albert, I get it that we need to call on people to, voice and talk to their people. But we have been doing this for as long as I can remember, and we are still finding ourselves here. Beyond just the talk and having, persons who especially hail from there speak up, what concrete steps can we take? Because I think that it has become very tiring, for the want of a better word, for everybody, what's happening up in Boko.
I think that very often we don't diagnose the situations very well. For example, what has probably caused this is something that we needed to find out. What was the ripeness test that was conducted, before certain actions were taken that probably provoked this kind of action? And that is where very often we say that, we need to do a lot more diagnosis of the issues. At the moment, there is still controversy over outcomes of processes, legal and also non-adversarial processes. And if there are still controversies and people are not accepting certain outcomes, we need to go deeper into that. For example, we have court outcomes. Now, to the extent that people are not accepting, and committing to the outcomes, we need a lot more engagement beyond the court. We also need to engage the...
Albert, you have muted. You're muted. Are you able to unmute yourself? Hello, Albert.
Yes, so we need to sustain the engagement with the various factions and other stakeholders. We have not really understood that this issue is multifaceted. There are so many stakeholders who are taking advantage of the situation. Now we have the situation degenerating into where it is not between the factions directly, and it is now between the factions and the security agencies. That apprehension needs to be understood. Otherwise, if it is now between one faction or the factions and then the security agencies, then it becomes a different situation altogether. Now, there have been a number of incidents that have occurred, in Boko, in Bolgatanga, within roads, in communities, that even beyond the Upper East, that are related seemingly related to the Boko situation. We have not been able to make sure that the law works as expected. These are criminal activities that have taken place, and we have let the people off the hook to the extent that we don't even have the courts working properly in Boko. Now, it is an opportunity for people to think that, yes, we can take actions with impunity and nothing can happen to us. We have had so many visits by the state, to Boko. We have had so many engagements and activities by civil society. National Peace Council has been there, ONEP has been there, several civil society organizations. And we've been trying to create some awareness, amongst the populations to build a groundswell for certain engagements to take place. But very often the engagements are short-lived and we do not get to the bottom of it. So we need multiple approaches to adopt so that we can address the situation. Otherwise, and we also need to make sure that people who have important roles to play, in the Boko situation, should be committed to processes and be very objective in their understanding, but not probably being parochial in terms of the interest they have. Otherwise, they are not serving the people of Boko well. They are not serving the Upper East and other regions and the rest of the country well.
Thank you very much.
There are people who are very happy to transport arms. Are we tracking that? Is the security very stringent on that? Tracking the chain of arms, or the supply chain into the area where we do not have arms useful at the moment. For example, in the Sahel areas, in Burkina Faso, in Cote d'Ivoire, these arms are being moved into the area. Is the security able to?
Thank you very much. Albert Yang is the National Network Coordinator for the West African Network for Peacebuilding in Ghana. Now, let's do some governance issues. And pockets of confusion have characterized some municipal and district assemblies across the country as assembly members vote to confirm the nominees by President John Dramani Mahama for the post of metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives. As has been witnessed in the past, some of the president's nominees have failed to obtain the required percentage of vote from the assembly members, leading to disagreements and confusion. These confirmations are crucial for the proper functioning of the assemblies, as major decisions by the various assemblies rest on the shoulders of the MMDCEs. Let's have a conversation on this. Joining me via Zoom is governance expert Dr. Richard Fiadumo. Doc, thank you very much for your time. I'm sure that you have been following the news scene, the pockets of violence that we're recording over this. What's your initial take on it?
Yeah, thank you very much, and greetings to all your cherished viewers and listeners. Yes, we have followed the confirmation processes across the country, and we've also heard about the pockets of violence that has also occurred in some districts. But you see, what we all should understand is that we are dealing with a constitutional injunction. The Constitution requires that the president shall nominate a person to a district assembly. After that is done, the president is done with his work or her work. After that, assembly members are supposed to go for a meeting and by two-thirds majority present and voting, should either confirm or reject the president's nominee. So the right to confirm lies with the assembly members, and the right to also reject lies with the assembly members. So if the assembly members confirm and you are happy, so be it. If the assembly members also reject and you are not happy, so be it. You have to leave it, because constitutionally they have the right so to do. So for you to say that assembly members have exercised their judgment to the extent that they are saying that this particular nominee of the president, we cannot work with him or her. So that is their decision, and it's a voting right. And what we want everybody to understand too also is that the fact that a nominee has been rejected once does not bring the case to an end. The same law requires that if the nominee is able to get 50% plus, but is not able to get a two-thirds majority, he or she is given another opportunity within 10 days to face or go for the nomination confirmation process once again. So the fact that he has been rejected once should not lead to violence, because that is not the end of the story. It only becomes the end of the story if the said nominee is not able to clock 50% of the votes coming from the assembly members. So we need to understand what the law says, so that if you are confirmed, we move on. If you are also not confirmed, you have an opportunity to face the assembly members once again. So instead of going to lobby the assembly members to convince them beyond reasonable doubt that the president nominee is the best candidate, if you resort to violence, I dare say that will not necessarily change the decision of the assembly members, even in the next 10 days.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. Dr. Richard Fiadumo is a governance expert. The Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, Dr. Engineer Ken Ashibe, has thrown his support behind the government's decision to conduct a second round of SIM card registration scheduled to be carried out online in July 2025. According to Dr. Ashibe, the move is prudent, citing inconsistencies in the existing biometric data provided by the National Identification Authority. He urged the NCA to develop a more robust and great database system to ensure continuous improvement and accuracy in data management.
We all know the challenges we had with the previous registration, the fact that we were not able to complete the process with the NIA database, which is the single point of truth so far as this country is concerned, as prescribed by law. And you realize the fact that in that same registration, it's only the first part that you call on the NIA database. But the second part where, the biometrics were collected, the biometrics that were collected were not compared to the biometrics that the NIA had collected. We are definitely going to be engaging the minister and then the NCA, which is going to be responsible for it. And we'll be able to bring to bear all the learnings that we have had as an industry in dealing with the SIM registration, so that we can ensure that then we have a very robust SIM database, and then we also inculcate within the design that agility that would make sure that there's constant improvement of what it is that we're doing.
Well, Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency, Mustafa Gbande, has criticized the NPP's flagship social intervention programs, describing them as largely ineffective and riddled with mismanagement. According to him, initiatives such as One District, One Factory, failed to live up to expectations and amounted to what he termed a scam. He further acknowledged that while some policies like the free senior high school program were commendable in principle, their implementation was marred with widespread corruption and lack of transparency.
SHS was a good policy, would have helped people, would have helped persons like myself who could not have afforded school fees. Okay? When I started school, people would have to help me pay my fees because my father and mother didn't have. I had to go and struggle to pay my fees. And so free SHS will certainly have benefited the less privileged in society.
And he did that?
No. But to the MPP appointees, it was a basket weaved to get votes. That is why free SHS was there, but they fed the student badly, poorly, It was also a scheme for corruption. That is why they didn't mind infrastructure. That is why people would have to be paying for free internet, but there was no internet on the campuses. All right? That is why teachers were not motivated, but they have to teach your children for free. It was a good vision, but let us feasibly start it from what we can execute and what we can contain. But they thought that with free SHS, it was an insurance for them to misbehave in government, but also get people to vote for them.
Mustafa Bande says if he were president of Ghana, half of the members of the NPP would have fled the country due to the alleged involvement in corruption. Speaking in an interview with Bolore on Star Chat, he said that the NPP should be thankful to President John Dramani Mahama for exercising restraint. According to him, Mahama's governance is guided by a prioritization principle where national development takes precedence over prosecuting political opponents.
President Mahama have always tried to be in the middle.
Okay.
I know that's why when I see my brothers making noise, I feel sad.
When you say your brothers,
the MPP,
okay,
they should thank President Mahama.
Why?
If President Mahama was not a president today, and you had someone like me, half of the MPP people would have left this country by now.
Are you joking?
Yes.
No, but we have laws governing the country.
We use the law. We use the law.
Why would you say half of the MPP would leave the country?
If you
are
are
citizens of Ghana.
If you are corrupt, I don't believe in malicious communications. I also don't believe in destroying somebody's image.
Correct.
Whatever I tell you is what I know of you. President Mahama have tried to situate his government in the middle. He believed that, yes, where we are, the country is destroyed halfway. We can be dealing with ourselves, but who takes care of the steer in terms of driving the nation forward? There's a need to prioritize development, growth. There's a need to focus on building. There's a need to take care of the vulnerable who will not get the privileges you and I have. There's a need to focus on these people. So whereas we want to deal with people who have done wrongs, let us also focus on building the foundation. No, I don't believe that if you take what belongs to the poor, you should walk free. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And so when I see them recycling themselves and making noise, my heart bleeds.
CATS International is questioning the purpose of another SIM registration. Let's have a conversation with the West Africa Director for CATS International, Apia Kusia Adomako via Zoom. Ms. Adomako, thank you very much for your time. You say that it's not necessary, but the NIA and the ministry has said that there's a lot of inconsistencies with what we did the last time.
Okay, good afternoon, Serwaa and your viewers. I think that the issue of SIM re-registration, we've had this, we started back in 2010 or so. Then 2 years ago, it was completed. Now we've been told that we are supposed to do our SIM re-registration again. And if we do not take care anytime a government changes, we may be asked to go to do SIM re-registration. So what I'm saying is that we need to think through what we want to achieve with the SIM re-registration exercise, and also plan in a way that it can also solve the future needs. In the past, we were told that the SIM registration was going to help us fight fraud on SIM, fraud associated with SIM cards. But data shows that this fraud has gone up. People are being duped through their mobile phone and other things, and yet the police are unable to resolve the matter. And I think that any SIM registration without ensuring identity, a proper identity in a way that the police can be able to locate people, I don't think it's worth the time of consumers. And so we must ask ourselves, how can this new registry that we are doing help Ghana Police and also law enforcement agency to be able to identify wherever the bad guys are whenever they try to use their phone to deceive people?
But Mr. Adomako, do you know of any legal or regulatory framework that will protect the consumer? Because we keep giving our information out. Now we're being told that what we did the last time, queued for hours, is not even good enough, and we have to do it again. Are we protected at all in all of this?
I think that some of us were against how our data were being collected using cell phones by MNO agents. Some of these phones could easily be hacked, and your biometric data can fall into the hands of these bad guys. But people have been decided to go to court, but I don't think the court wasn't helpful on that particular matter. I mean, elsewhere, only secured gadgets could be allowed to be used for capturing people's face and also their biometrics. But here, wherever you go, last week, for example, I had a visitor at the Kotoka airport. We were trying to register her phone, her SIM card, and then the lady was using her cell phone to do the registration, scanning the pictures and everything. So what if she saves some of these images on her phone and then gives it to the bad guys? And if you don't take it, now the way things have gone, they will be able to use this information in a way that may inure against the consumer. So I think that the data protection law needs to work, and I know that the Ministry of Communication has an oversight responsibility on data protection commission, and they have to make sure that whatever platform that is being built to capture data, it has a very strong security architecture in a way that people cannot hack onto those systems to extract the critical information of Ghanaian phone subscribers.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. Apia Kosi Adomako is the West Africa Director for CATS International. The head of department of the University of Ghana School of Communication Studies, Professor Abena Yamuabanin, is advocating for a detailed guideline that establishes clear interpretations for ambiguous terms to fight fake news and proportional legal remedies to safeguard freedom of expression. Addressing journalists during a stakeholder engagement on a report to review Ghana's legal framework for addressing misinformation and disinformation, organized by Pen Plus Bytes and Open Government Partnership, Professor Yamuabanin called for the creation of a non-partisan, independent ombudsman to assess alleged misinformation cases before they escalate to prosecution, an amendment of existing laws to reflect Ghana's 1992 Constitution and international standards on freedom of expression.
The information ecosystem to pay attention to. One of the first recommendations we make is perhaps that it is time to look at developing some guidelines that clarify the scope of some of the provisions in the law to make them less susceptible to arbitrary application. So those provisions about interest of the state, national interest, national security, fear and panic, etc. We think that if we have guidelines that specify clearly what constitutes it, under what circumstances can it be activated, etc., it reduces the odds of the elite weaponizing them and targeting sometimes journalists, sometimes their political opponents, sometimes ordinary people. And so we suggest that perhaps stakeholders need to come to conversations about developing guidelines that help us set scope and define the terms of use for some of these provisions in the laws. Again, we also recommend the need perhaps for Ghana to push an agenda for regional level interventions in law that enable dealings and conversations with the platforms, the digital platforms. Ghana by itself may not have the geopolitical power and influence to push X or Facebook or TikTok to do some things. But perhaps if it's at AU level, so we suggest that there needs to be efforts at AU level towards promulgating some laws that guide the dealings of the digital platforms with the citizens of Africa.
President John Dramani Mahama has once again reaffirmed his government's unwavering commitment to restoring lasting peace in the conflict-prone town of Boko in the Upper East region. This follows recent heightened tension in the area, resulting in the deaths of civilians and a police officer, as well as destruction of homes. Speaking at the graduation parade of the Ghana Military Academy in Accra, President Mahama condemned the attack but expressed confidence that the mediation team led by Asantehene Otumfuo II will bring finality to the decades-old conflict.
Let us support our security services and the Ghana Armed Forces with information that is useful and intelligence that is helpful, that will advance their work rather than retrogress it. Let me reiterate that we will take all allegations of crime seriously and trigger our security service investigative machinery to go after criminals, no matter who they are. But let me state emphatically also that we do not have the resources and time to engage in any game of smoke and mirrors. The Ghana Armed Forces is engaged in several theaters to maintain peace and security in our nation. One major flashpoint continues to be the Boko area. Only 2 days ago, an incident in a marketplace triggered an unfortunate loss of lives and criminal vandalism of property. I wish to emphasize that nobody gains from this situation of conflict and insecurity. We have triggered the Otumfuo mediation process, which saw all stakeholders participate in discussions in Kumasi on a roadmap towards peace. I'm assured by the Asantehene that the process will resume next week when he returns from his brief visit abroad.
Well, let's cross over to Teshi, where my colleague Hanan has been with the president. The president, we understand, addressed other matters as well. Hanan, what do you have for us?
Well, from the beginning, Serwaa, you also realized that the president also addressed issue about false alarm being perpetrated in the media, and several people are linking it to what is currently happening in the case of the Asin South Member of Parliament, Reverend GHOne Ntimfo, and says that the government or his government is committed to fighting all crimes. But the security services, including the Ghana Armed Forces, will need information that is credible and people who would be ready to assist all state investigative bodies to bring those allegations or intelligence that they may have gathered into fruitful meaning where arrest and prosecutions would be made. Another issue the president highlighted has to do with the uncompleted health facility in Kumasi, which is popularly known as the Afare Military Hospital, and also other health facilities in Tamale and Bolgatanga, which will be serving the military and other civilians in those areas. He says that those uncompleted facilities under his watch will be completed. He also raised the issue about the fact that the Ghana Armed Forces and other state security agencies would need more retooling, and says that his government, or under Mahama I administration, that is between 2013 and 2017, did their part by retooling the Ghana Armed Forces and other security agencies. He says that in the coming days, together with the Ministry of Defense, that particular processes will also begin where they will get new equipment and other forms of logistical support to ensure that they are ready to sustain or protect Ghana against any form of external attack and internal attack. Basing that issue on the current issue that is happening, in Boku and other parts of the country, especially in Nkwanta, where there's ongoing ethical conflict between two factions there as well. So Serwaa, the president also highlighted that the country is, or assured that the country is safe under the guidance of the Ghana Armed Forces and other security agencies. He also made the point that government will continue to liaise with its neighboring counterparts to ensure that the threat of terrorism does not spill into Ghana.
Thank you very much. Abdul Hanan is our presidential affairs correspondent. It's time to bring you the latest in the world of business. Consumers of electricity and water are expected to pay more for their consumption in the first and second quarters of the year 2025. This follows a current meeting being undertaken by the PURC to discuss the proposed percentage increase. According to information available, the proposed percentages under consideration are 27% and 9.5% for electricity and water, respectively. Stakeholders in Ghana's transport sector are urging financial institutions to introduce more flexible and accessible vehicle financing schemes to help transform livelihoods and strengthen the country's transport ecosystem. According to the players, low interest, long-term and driver-friendly financing options could unlock massive economic potential and provide opportunities for financial independence, especially for those currently shut out by high vehicle prices and rigid loan terms.
Speaking at the 2025 Yango Digital Mobility Awards, General Manager of Yango Ghana, Tom Ofinime, emphasized that simplified financing requirements will not only empower drivers but also boost the ride-hailing industry and contribute to reducing unemployment.
We've continuously engaged financial institutions. We've discussed with some that I can't mention their names now, but within the coming months we'll begin to see these opportunities spring up and also see how we can, find more and more low interest rates for the fleet partners to be able to get cars and give to drivers.
The event also recognized outstanding contributors in the sector, including Enes Yeboah, who was named Driver of the Year for his professionalism and dedication.
I thank God for today because they are the one that doing this. I will tell them no competition challenge over this. So, and I thank all the managements for their support. It happened so last year when they say somebody won the car, I thought it was a joke. When they call me this year, I say, is it something like that? And by the grace of God, this is how the Lord has brought us, and I'm very excited.
Stakeholders further emphasized the importance of prioritizing the safety and well-being of both drivers and passengers while continuing to reward excellence in service delivery.
And that's it for business. Coming up now is the latest in the world of sports, and Monica Bukari joins me here. Oh, Mrs. Bukari, how are you?
Let's just do Monica.
Why are you not in your Friday wear?
Yeah.
Your African print?
Yeah. I can see you on your African print.
Yes, I'm on a crusade to encourage young people especially to wear a lot of African prints, okay, especially Kaba and Slate.
Kaba and Slate.
Yeah.
Kaba and Slate is something that I find difficult to wear.
Why?
But look out for me next week. I'm reading with you next week. So I'm going to be in my African
next
print.
Next week?
But not Kaba and Slate. But
that's fine.
An African print.
Yeah. Bring it on.
All right. Let's bring you the latest in the world of sports shortly. Mohamed Salah has committed his future to Liverpool by signing a 2-year contract at Anfield. Salah was set to be out of contract in the summer amid speculation linking him with a move away from the Reds. It's a major boost for Liverpool with Salah scintillating form this season, helping power the club to secure their 20th league title. Now, let's hear from elated Wenger, who spoke after the signing.
Yes, of course, I'm very excited. We have a great team now. A great team, but I'm excited because I think we have a chance to win other trophies and
Now, a stoppage time from Turkey and Olympic Lyonnais, a dramatic 2-2 draw with Manchester United in the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final on Thursday, with visiting goalkeeper Andre Onana. Onana was the center of attention in the Groupama Stadium after his pre-match war of words with Lyon midfielder Matic. A timely equalizer right from Lenny Yoro, the young centre-back's first goal for United since joining in the close season, leveled things up. United pounced on the centre 2 minutes from time with Joshua Zeki's header seemingly securing them a fine away win. But Turkey, with last kick from the game, secured a dramatic draw for the home side after Onana spilled George's shot into his path. Now let's hear from Ruben Amorim.
30 minutes we are thinking the next game against Newcastle, and then we will have 3 days to recover and to prepare this game against a team that is really hard to press. We have to be really smart, but we will play with our fans, so we are going to play with one more. We have, especially when you see how many fans we have in every game, especially in this season, so we are grateful for that, but we want to win to give them that satisfaction. But we play well. In the beginning, we struggle with how to press the opponent. They change a little bit the way they have been playing. But then, especially second half, we controlled the game. We were near the third goal in the end, and we suffered a goal. It's tough to deal with that, but we have to think about the future.
Chelsea beat Warsaw 3-0 in Poland in the quarter-final first leg of the UEFA Conference League on Thursday. Chelsea took the lead when Reece James' low shot from pushed into the path of George for his first senior goal. Noni Madueke on for Palmer made it 2 on 57 minutes from a Jadon Sancho's assist. And 17 minutes later, the midfielder scored his second after another Sancho pass. The goal came just 25 minutes after Nkuku missed a penalty as his poor form continued. Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca spoke after the game.
To try to have our best player for this game and to give also a chance to the rest players to recover energy. And at the end, I think has been overall a professional performance, good result. Probably second half we were much better compared to the first half for different reasons. I said many times that we need to learn how to play different kind of games. You know, when you face, Tottenham, we said many times that they try to high pressing, there are more space, but when they sit back, you have to be more quick on the ball. You have to try to have a shot from outside the box because they are all inside the box. So if you don't shoot, it's difficult. And then the first goal, I think, came from Reece shot, rebound. Player was there, Ty was there. So, yeah.
Now let's come home, and in the Ghana Premier League, Midiama SC is set to take on rejuvenated side Dreams FC in the Premier League at the Takwa and Aboso Stadium in Takwa this night. The Mauve and Yellow slipped 2 places down the league table, 7th, after suffering a 1-0 defeat at Accra Hearts of Oak in their previous league match. Midiama has scored the joint most goals in the league ahead of the clash and conceded 20 to snatch the maximum points when both sides meet later today. And that's all for sports, but do join us here at 1 p.m. on The Game. My name is Monica Bukari. Back to you, Serwaa. Amihere.
Thank you very much, Monica. Coming up now is Izo. Ghanaian gospel a cappella group Alabaster Box has accused award-winning rapper Samuel Frimpong, popularly known as Medical, of copyright infringement. In a letter dated April 8, 2025 and issued by lawyers Sastineri attorneys, the group alleges that Medical's latest track, Welcome to Africa, unlawfully have been told to hurry home, classes have been suspended, and outdoor events have been cancelled as northern China braces for extreme winds this weekend. Millions have been urged to stay indoors, with some state media outlets warning that people weighing less than 50 kg may be easily blown away. Winds reaching 150 kph are expected to sweep Beijing, Tianjin and other parts of Hebei region from Friday to Sunday as a cold vortex moves southeast from Mongolia. For the first time in a decade, Beijing has issued an orange alert for gales, the second highest in a 40-year weather warning system. Strong winds sweeping from Mongolia are not uncommon, especially at this time of the year, but the impending winds are expected to be stronger than anything the area has seen in years. And that's it for the news on behalf of the entire production team led by Miss Lady Mohammed. Thank you for watching. The news team will be back at 6:30 with News Tonight. But enjoy your weekend and enjoy the rest of the day. I am Serwaa Amihere. Good afternoon.